Welcome to Knowledge Nuggets. Let's learn together. The fall of communism. When the wall came down. Hey, history explorers! Today we're learning about one of the most exciting and important moments in modern history, the fall of communism in Eastern Europe in 1989. For more than 40 years after World War II, many countries lived under strict communist governments controlled by the huge Soviet Union. People couldn't say what they thought, couldn't start their own businesses, and couldn't even travel freely to other countries. Life was often gray, scary, and hard. But in 1989, everything began to change. The communist dictators started to lose their power when the leader of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, made a brave decision. He refused to send soldiers or tanks to help them stay in charge. That one choice helped millions of people finally become free. So, who was Mikhail Gorbachev? He became the leader of the Soviet Union in 1985. As a child, he grew up on a farm, worked hard, and saw how communism was hurting his own country. Factories were broken, food was hard to find, and people were afraid to speak up. Gorbachev wanted to fix things. Early on, he still believed in the system of communism, but slowly he started to change his mind. He created two big ideas. The first is called glasnost, which means openness, so people could talk freely. And the second is called perestroika, which means rebuilding, so the economy could work better. He realized that forcing people to live under strict rules wasn't working. Gorbachev also saw that the Soviet Union was spending too much money on weapons and wars. He wanted to make peace with the West instead of always fighting. That's why, when communist leaders in Eastern Europe asked for military help to stay in power, Gorbachev said no. He didn't want more violence, and he knew the old way was failing. His decision was like taking away the bullies' backup. Suddenly, the dictators were on their own. The first big leader to fall was Erich Honecker of East Germany. He had run a very strict communist country for years. People couldn't leave, and secret police watched everything. But in 1989, thousands of East Germans started marching and demanding freedom. Honecker tried to stop them, but when Gorbachev refused to send tanks, Honecker had to quit. On November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall, that huge concrete barrier that split the city in two, was opened. People hugged, danced, and chipped away pieces of the wall with hammers. In Romania, the leader was Nicolae Ceausescu. He was one of the harshest dictators. His secret police were everywhere, and many families went hungry while he built giant palaces for himself. In December 1989, the people rose up. Ceausescu tried to give a speech, but the crowd booed and shouted him down. He and his wife tried to escape, but they were caught. The people of Romania finally got their freedom, even though it was a very scary and sad time. The changes spread to other countries as well. In Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Bulgaria, communist leaders stepped down one after another. People held peaceful marches, sang songs, and demanded elections. By the end of 1989 and into 1990, almost every communist government in Eastern Europe had fallen. This map shows countries that are still communist in red. The blue, however, are countries that used to be communist, but are not anymore. These countries chose new systems instead: democracy, where people vote for their leaders, and free market economies, where people can own businesses and decide what jobs to have. It wasn't always easy. Some countries had money troubles and arguments at first, but life slowly got better. People could finally travel, read any book, listen to any music, and speak their minds without fear. Why did communism fall? The main reason was that it just didn't work for regular people. Under communism, the government owned everything. Factories made things no one wanted, stores were often empty, and leaders lived like kings while everyone else waited in long lines for bread. People felt trapped and unhappy. Gorbachev's decision not to send the dictators military aid gave them the courage to stand up. When the dictators lost their Soviet backup, they couldn't hold on anymore. The fall of communism meant millions of people finally got freedom, hope, and the chance to build better lives. It showed the world that even the strongest-looking systems can change when people work together for what's right. The end of communism in 1989 and 1990 was like a giant door opening. Thanks to brave citizens and leaders like Gorbachev who chose peace over force, a huge part of the world became free. It reminds us that even when things look stuck, change is possible when people speak up and leaders listen. What an amazing story of courage and change. Before we go, let's do a quick check on learning. Here are 5 questions for you awesome history fans. Question 1. In what year did the communist dictators begin to fall in Eastern Europe? In 1989. Great job. Question 2. Who was the leader of the Soviet Union who refused to send military aid? Soviet General Secretary Gorbachev. Question 3. Name one communist leader who fell from power in 1989. Erich Honecker or Nicolae Ceausescu. Nice work. Question 4. What new systems did the countries choose after communism? Democracy and free market economies. Question 5. Why did the people living under communism wish for it to fall? It was too strict, made life hard, and people wanted freedom. Great job! Share your answers in the comments and tell us what you think freedom means. See you on the next adventure!